Thank you, Alistair, and good afternoon, everybody, and thank you again for coming. So I have an enviable task of giving you all everything you ever needed to know about AI in 20 minutes. I'm going to talk very, very fast. You've heard a lot about AI. Everybody's talking about AI. So what I'm hoping to do in the next 20 minutes is just give you a perspective on, especially, and I'm hoping that most people in this room are either in sales or marketing or have an interest in sales or marketing because of the topic. But I'm trying to give you a perspective on how to think about AI, especially in your everyday lives and in what you're doing from a sales and marketing point of view. This landscape is changing remarkably fast, faster than any technology we've ever seen. So I'm not going to go into minute details on how exactly everything works today because it's going to change. But what I'm going to give you is I'm going to give you some frameworks and some ideas of, like I say, how you should be thinking about it and how you should be approaching it. So we're going to look at how we go from data to deals and how AI is enabling that. To start, I want to give you this statistic, and I'm going to interpret this because this is in some respects quite shocking, but also I think it gives us some really big opportunities. 46% of B2B buyers are using generative AI tools when conducting research, and that compares to some of the more traditional ways that they've done it in terms of things like white paper libraries, newsletters, email bulletins, case studies, who are only factoring at 17%. Now, that's not to say that those channels and formats aren't hugely important and still absolutely relevant and still absolutely crucial as part of the B2B buying journey. What this is saying is the way that people are accessing them and then using them as part of those journeys has fundamentally changed and is changing. And if you look at that statistic there of 46%, if you'd have gone back a year ago, it would have been a very much lower number. That's the pace that this technology is coming into play. So this isn't saying that it's replacing these other formats and channels. What it's doing is saying the way that people are accessing them is now different to where it was even, like I say, a year ago. I want to start out by busting some myths around this because like I say, you've heard an awful lot about AI. People are talking about it every single day. Every time you turn on the news, it's there. Firstly, what I get fed back a lot is it's not relevant to us. It's not relevant to, for example, the construction industry. Or we're not ready for it. Our teams aren't ready for it. The business isn't ready for it. Our data's not ready for it. What I'm here today to say to you is you cannot afford not to be ready for this because this isn't the future. AI is not something that's coming. It is here now. And you saw the stat. It's affecting the way that people are now buying in B2B. So we've got to embrace it and we've got to think about how do we actually then use this opportunity that's in front of us. And there is a real advantage to be had if we can embrace that and bring that into the sales and marketing processes that we're working with and using. Especially, as you can see here, in environments that are complex, high value, long sales cycles, because there's so much application for AI in these environments, and we're seeing that a lot of the players are starting to use it, and therefore there is the risk here of being out of the game, and that game is going to move very, very fast. So, where do you start? What I see a lot, and I speak to a lot of people that are going, look, we need to do something with AI. You know, whether it's our boards telling us we need an AI strategy, or we've been hearing about it in the news. We've got to sort of put our foot in the game. And the first thing I say is, well, look, you've already got AI tools in your business that you're not using, and I would say that 90 to 95% of the people that I speak to have tools like this already existing within their tech stack, within their MarTech stack, and they're either completely not using the AI that's within these tools, or they're just scratching the surface of what's capable. So the first thing I would say to you is go back, look at what you've already got, because these are really, really powerful AI tools at your disposal that you're probably already paying for that you're not using. And so by starting with some of these early wins, and I would look at this in terms of what AI is really good in the context of these kinds of tools is firstly connecting dots. So it's looking at where you've got different data sets, putting two and two together to create a solution or an experience. And the other thing that AI is really good at in this context is interactive engagement. So being able to use AI and automate parts of your sales and marketing journey to be able to have an interactive experience without necessarily at that point having a human interaction. Now, one of the things that you'll have heard again, people are worried about is this completely taking the human element out of the equation? No, it is not. And I'll talk more about this in a moment. AI is a tool. AI is a suite of tools that we have at our disposal, but it still absolutely needs humans to operate those tools and to extract the value from them. And where the real opportunity with AI lies is taking away a lot of the things that we don't need humans to add the value to. So automating some of these processes with the tools that you've already got and looking at how you're using your really valuable human resources to add that layer on top, to bring this to light, to focus on those engagements and the conversations that really matter rather than the ones that can be deprioritized. So it's how we use these tools and then interface them with the humans in the business that's going to make the difference here. So look at what you've already got, look at what you can do with the tools that you're already at your disposal, but think about how you can start to automate some of the processes that you have to enable your human resources to extract the value on top of that. As I said before, if you look at the stat I showed earlier, the 46%, it's about how people are now accessing information and content through AI. And this is changing and changing rapidly. So one of the key components, I'm sure, as sales and marketers, is the content that you're creating. And we are still stuck in the game of trying to create content exclusively for Google. Again, if you go back maybe a couple of years, it was just about optimize your content to maximize your ranking on Google. And most people are still playing that game. But the landscape has completely changed. So if you actually look at Generation Z, the generation that's now coming into the workforce and is going to be the leaders in the next few years, 30% of Generation Z are using AI tools for search rather than search engines. Okay, and that number is just going to grow and it's going to grow exponentially. So this is about how people are accessing information and content online. And it's a different way, it's a different approach, it's a different play. So you'll see here an example of some reference content through ChatGPT. How do you get referenced or cited by these AI engines? So it comes down to two things. Firstly, you've got to make your content readable for these machines. Right? At the end of the day, they are machines. So you have to make sure that your content is structured in such a way that the machines can understand it. That's about the language that you use, how the actual content is structured itself, but also including elements like FAQs, definitions, and things like that make it easier for the machine to understand it's something that can be referenced and can be cited. So the first thing is think about how you're structuring your content to be able to be consumed by the machines. The second thing is you've got to make it valuable for those machines. And so, number one, you've got to have a bank of content. You've got to show your authority, not just with an isolated piece of content like you did, for example, with search, but you've got to show a bank of expertise, a bank of authority that the machines will look at. The second thing is referencing yourselves. So within the content yourselves, again, using natural language, make sure that you're citing yourselves in the content so the machines can understand it. This is something that they can quote. And try and get indexed on high authority sites. So if you are being referenced by other people, then the machines will look at it and go, this is an authority, and therefore I should be referencing it. So if you want to start getting into this space, which is where more and more of that search traffic is now going, you've got to think about the way that you're creating, structuring your content so it works as part of the mix. That's not to say, as I said before, that content is no longer relevant. It's just a different way that people are accessing it and consuming it through these tools and through these engines. But really where AI starts to come into its own is about how we start building experiences. And so what AI is great at is understanding, firstly, where people are on their buying journeys. So it's great at looking at broad data sets, unstructured data sets, and using all of that information to understand more about what people are interested in, what point they are in the journey, and crucially, what they should be doing. So it's about how can we start leveraging AI, and there's lots of tools that are available to do this, to be able to start predicting, firstly, that somebody's going to be in market or a company's going to be in market for a specific product or service. And then what are the things that they should be doing? What's the sequence that they should be doing things in? What's the next piece of content they should be consuming? What's the next thing that next destination they should be going to? And starting to lay out these journeys. So thinking about how you're starting to power your buyer journeys through an AI-enabled experience is really where the kind of the next wave of this is going. And it's very much about how you use AI to hyper-personalize those experiences beyond what you've been doing in your CRMs and things like that. It's gathering all this information, all this intelligence, and creating a really, really personalized experience in real time on a continuous basis to move them forward in those journeys. The next big thing, and you're starting to hear a lot about this already, is what's called AI agents. So a lot of what we've been doing to this point has been what I would call designing AI workflows. Now, let me just make a quick distinction there. Workflows are designed based on instructions. Okay, so when you're using ChatGPT, you're giving it instructions and asking it to do a task. And a lot of what's been on the market to this point has been workflows. It's basically getting AI, as I said before, to connect the dots and move people forward. The next wave, which is starting to come through and is increasingly going to come through for the rest of this year and next year, are agents. And this is where it gets really exciting, because these are the ones that can think for themselves. So the distinction with AI agents is they aren't reliant on instructions. They can work out what they need to do. Okay, so they can make decisions, and they can actually start to play a more active role. So whether we like it or not, there's obviously a lot of debate around the pros and cons of AI and Terminator and things like that. But this is here. This isn't the future, as I said before. This is coming. This stuff is already out there. And it's about how you take advantage of that. So again, thinking about how you can use intelligent AI to power those experiences. And what it's enabling us to do is build a lot of efficiency into our existing processes. So they can, for example, take an RFP that comes into you, interpret that RFP without any inputs from you, based on a bank of knowledge, based on your previous responses to RFPs, and they can generate a tailored RFP response for you, all on its own. Now, what I'm not saying here is take the humans out of the equation. Okay? What the humans are doing are adding the value. And that's coming in when a lot of the process has already been done to make sure that that RFP is answering what it should be doing and is in the best position to win that business. So there's still absolutely a human element here, but it's taking away a lot of the heavy lifting that take time, effort, and resources to do. And you can see here a lot of other examples of how AI can do this. And like I say, the difference with what's coming is this AI is really living up to the intelligence aspect of it. So I'd ask you to go and have a look what's out there, embrace it, don't fear it, think about how you can make it work for you, and look at some of the use cases like I put up here, that they can automate a lot of these processes so you can optimize the human resource that you've got in that equation. To do that, you need to empower your team and activate your team. So more and more, it's really important that you start to upskill your teams on AI. And there's a caveat I'll come on to in a moment. So firstly, getting your team to understand how to interface with AI. So that's things like prompt engineering. So what I mean by that is understand how to talk to these AI tools, how to talk to the AI engines. The more you're going to get out of them is dependent on the quality that you're putting in. So if you can help your teams to understand how to give the information and instructions and point the AI in the right direction, the more valuable it's going to be to you. It should be a co-pilot. So again, part of the cultures that we need to be developing are, again, we're not divorcing the work. We're not divorcing the responsibility to these machines. We're getting them to work for us. So it's really important that we get our teams to understand that it's not a replacement. These are those, and you'll hear the phrase co-pilots. Yeah? These are assistants. These are tools that we can leverage. Now, one thing I would definitely say is, for any business at this stage, it's really, really important that you have, firstly, an AI policy in place. So think about how you want your teams to be working with AI and adopting AI and interfacing with AI. Because it is an open space out there, and there's a lot of things that people can do that you might not necessarily want them to do. So make sure you've got an AI policy that specifies how you want your team to behave in this regard. And alongside that, have governance in place in terms of, again, how the company is adopting and using AI. But also, it's really important, that final point. What we should be doing is testing, measuring, and iterating. This is a test and learn on superpowers. So use AI to experiment, learn what it can do, and then double down on that. This is a great quote, I think, that sums up the approach. This is Heather Akabayo from Databricks, and she said, AI is revolutionizing how we sell at Databricks, freeing our teams from repetitive tasks and unlocking time for what truly matters, building relationships and closing deals. But the magic only happens with clean data, strong governance, and a mindset of experimentation. That sums up perfectly how to think about AI and approach AI. So, the question is, do you want to be ahead of the game? Do you want to be winners in this environment? If you do, you need to be adopting it now and thinking about it now, testing, measuring, iterating, understanding what works for you and how you can leverage it. The costs is already showing up in your pipelines if you're not doing this, because your competitors are, I can guarantee it. If you would like, this is not an advertisement, but if you would like a quick kickstart, I do have, if you connect with me on LinkedIn, I will send to you my 25 copy and paste prompts for ChatGPT that I've tried and tested, and I've worked myself and with other companies, and these are literally ones that you can use today to start getting a feel for what AI can do for you across all different use cases in sales. So feel free to connect with me and I'll share with you. There's no absolute guarantee, there's no sub there. So we'll do questions at the end. So I'll pass over back to Alistair and talk about. Thank you very much for